Good day, folks. Everything new under the sun. A lot of things are happening, not the least of which is the U.S. election. And there is a potential for not only another Israeli strike, but another Iranian strike before the U.S. elections, with the suggestion being the bet being that Trump is going to win, all things being equal, and assuming there's no fraud and all these other things involved there. Then he is going to come down hard on Iran, like he did in his first term. And by the way, when people come out and call him a fascist dictator and all these things, how about you look at what he did in his first term? Was he a scary dictator in his first term? Well, no, actually, things were pretty good. It was pretty well governed, generally speaking. There's always something you can complain about, but all things considered, it wasn't terrible. And so you can't the Democrats come and say, well, he's going to be a fascist dictator in his second term. Well, why would it happen in his second term if it didn't happen in the first? He would have taken control at that point. Anyways, that being said, back to Israel, which is kind of the center of prophetic news. It does look like Israel is going to do another strike, and I said they would. Now, I've suggested in the past to check out Canadian Prepper, but he seems to be, I'm not saying don't listen to him, but he is definitely, anti-religion and probably a bit more anti-God than he admits to. He is anti-Israel, calling what Israel is doing in Gaza genocide. And, I commented in one of his videos that, there is going to be collateral damage. This is what happens in wars. It's unfortunate. It's a shame. It's not good when civilians, innocent bystanders are killed, but unfortunately that's what happens in war. And now you can be Israel and decide not to go to war, but if you are in war, there's going to be some people killed that you're not expecting. And by the way, Hamas, Hezbollah, they use human shields. They suggest that Israel is using human shields, and I'm not suggesting Israel is perfect in every case, but if there was any case of that, it certainly wouldn't be across the board where, using civilians for human shields. Like, there's I think it was a Hezbollah doctor who came out and said, yeah, Hezbollah sets up offices underneath hospitals just like Hamas did. Basically, Israel knew that, but what it looks like to the rest of the world is Israel's bombing hospitals. Well, no, there's terrorists in there, and they do the best they can to get civilians and non-combatants out of the way. But it makes it very hard. It's guerrilla warfare. It's quite a tactic for a sovereign country with a military to go up against. It's very hard, and you end up losing any sort of media battle when you're battling a group that is doesn't care about lying. And indeed, for the Muslims, I was going to say, I forget what the word for it is, but they are allowed to lie, as I understand it, in Islamic law. They are allowed to lie for the purposes of, the religion of peace, in their understanding. Whereas for Christians, or the followers of the book, the people of the book, we're not supposed to lie, right? That's not a good thing. So anyways, it does look like, of course, Israel struck Iran, and Canadian Prepper came out and said, Israel got nothing done. Meanwhile, Iran is and Hezbollah is hammering Israel. Well, I think Israel got a lot of stuff done, and likely what's going to happen, as has happened in the past, is that it looks like nothing got done, but come, 6 months later, 2 years later, Israel planted, some sort of time-released weapon like Stuxnet or something. And, they were a lot smarter, actually. So it didn't look like they blew up a lot of stuff, but, they actually did a lot more damage, and they were geniuses, actually, in what they did. And he would probably have said the same about, Israel setting up a fake pager company before they took out all the leaders of Hezbollah, or a lot of them, with those pagers. But Canadian Preppers come out praising that as a brilliant idea. So he sees nothing happening in Iran with the most recent Israeli incursion, and thinks, well, Israel must have failed. I don't think you can assume that. I think you almost have to, at this point, assume that they're playing 4D chess, and we're just thinking of seeing explosions in shock and awe. Meanwhile, they're doing something far beyond what we're thinking of strategically, and that is what I think Canadian Prepper is missing. He thinks he's very smart. I don't know how humble he is at the end of the day. And you have to look at the history. Again, it's like Trump. You look at the what has resulted over the last number of years. And do you think Israel's just going to all of a sudden go into Iran and absolutely flop with an offensive? No, they did something very strategic. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just testing the air defenses. What I heard was that they took out the missile manufacturing facilities, or at least some of the tools and equipment that they had to create those missiles, and rockets, and that sort of thing. Some advanced technology, probably provided by Russia, which sets their missile production way back, so they can't provide missiles to Hezbollah. Meanwhile, again, Canadian Prepper's coming out and saying, look, they didn't take out any of the radars. Well, maybe they didn't need to take out the radars. Maybe they got through with the F-35s and the stealth jets and the jamming equipment that they have. Maybe they're actually doing it with a lot less shock and awe and a lot more absolute technological brilliance and strength. So it's strange that he doesn't see that. So all that being said, just be careful what he says. Be careful what anybody says. Be careful what I say. Maybe try and look into it a bit deeper than what meets the eye, and consider the history of Mossad, of Israel. In fact, as it relates to their military achievements and their technological advantage. You may not see something now, but hold on, wait till they press the button. Maybe they planted something or did some other major thing which advances their goals. Now, I said after the most recent one that they would be going in again because they weren't done. And I think that's the case. I think they did, it was a bit of a air defense probing run. They took out some manufacturing facilities for long-range missiles and such. And that's going to help them in the long run. It was really setting the stage for a larger strike. They had to kind of get in, maybe test the waters of the air defense, see if they could get by it, and if they could, which they seem to have been able to, then they can go in with their nuclear strike fighters and take out nuclear facilities like they did in Osirak in Iraq. They took out a whole nuclear development location. In 1980, 82, whatever it may be. So I suggest that they're going to do that again if they feel the need. And Iran is indeed getting close. Now, this is an article from World Israel News. We may need to hit Iran again, including new targets, IDF chief, October 30th. Yes, I said this from the beginning. That first one was just an initial probe, and they took out some particular strategic targets. Likely for the fact that they could go back in. It was not shock and awe for the media to present a bunch of pictures for. Canadian Prepper is also saying, if there's not a bunch of satellite images, then they must have got nothing done. Look back in history. Did you see a lot of satellite images of Stuxnet or the whole build up to the pagers and walkie-talkies that were created, intercepted, sent out, and used to very strategically to take out some high-level targets? You didn't see any satellite imagery of that. So, look a little bit further beyond the headlines and beyond the satellite images you find on Twitter. But yes, I do think they're going to go in again. And by the way, I did a video about how Iran thinks Israel's fighting with magic. Yes, they are. They're fighting with supernatural magic that is from God. God is protecting them. Now, they are not a sinless nation. They have not turned towards God fully, but God is still blessing abundantly. And I think that's very, very clear when you look at the riches, the technological riches, the intelligence, the smarts, the technology that Israel has as a nation. They are richly blessed by God. And I don't, to say that they have magic, yes, because God's on their side. So Iran is absolutely right in that case. Now Iran, this is Ynet News, Iran then is saying, well, we need to attack Israel and get there before the U.S. election. Iran will attack Israel likely before U.S. election. This is why I brought up the U.S. election, which is November 5th. For some reason, I was thinking it was the 11th, but November 5th, because they know Trump is going to be harsher and going to be more supportive of Israel, whereas Biden and team were actually trying and were harsh on Israel and trying not to support them, withholding weapons from Israel to do what it needs to do. So obviously the Republicans, Trump specifically, is very supportive of Israel, and that's not going to bode well for Iran. So they need to hit back very, very quickly, which is interesting, and they know it. Now that extent of damage caused by Israel is known, it says a senior source claims to CNN that Iran will attack Israel in a definitive and painful response even before U.S. presidential elections. White House warns Iran should not respond. Well, such a weak warning. Okay, but this is coming from Iran, apparently to CNN, and is going to be another strike. I think Israel, at least militarily, will be in a way happy to have another attack, so they can have another excuse to go into Iran. And I'm not saying that's not needed. Israel needs to do some more in there to remove their ability to wage war against Israel. Israel has no trouble with the people of Iran. Israel knows that the civilians are not against Israel. The civilians are under a repressive regime, and they were a very secular country, by the way, before the Shahs and all those came in. Go look back in history with Iran. It was a very secular country. Had no headscarves and short shorts and all these sorts of things. In the 60s, 50s. So it's only become a kind of a religious country recently, and a theocracy. So important to know that both Israel and Iran are likely to strike very, very soon. Israel struck last over the weekend after the markets closed. So again, look at this weekend, which is going to be kind of the last weekend before November 5th, right before the election. Look for strikes from both sides, whether they be covert or overt. And so that's what I see as coming. Pay attention. Just be wise about who you're listening to. Read your Bible. Pray every day. Know that the Lord is in control. The Lord is blessing Israel, I believe now, even though they have not recognized him as Messiah. And they are fighting with magic. They are fighting with the supernatural. Iran is absolutely correct. And many people throughout history have suggested that Israel is fighting with some sort of magic. And indeed they are. They said that when Israel was fighting with the Ark of the Covenant, marching out before them. And because it's supernatural, because the only actual real God, is leading them and protecting them in these last days. And Ezekiel 38 is one example of where Israel is almost overwhelmed, and they call out to God, and God rescues them. So that's a supernatural event, and the enemies of Israel will be taken care of. Thanks for watching. I'll leave there. We'll see you in the next video.